Hello. This is your man, Nicholas Shepherd from the Shepherd Family Enterprise, Business Administration, and Information Systems Consultants. And what I'm going to do today, I'm going to be going over a couple of things that I observed up to date. Um, and this is basically more of a social behavior um, in the communities that I'm now living in and things that I have learned, okay, um, in the last like several years, okay. I don't want to say I just learned that because that wouldn't give me the support of having any type of extended um, analysis of what was going on. Okay, so what um, I have done so far, because I communicate with a lot of different people. Um, it don't matter what culture they from, anything like that. And I ask a lot of questions, right? And most of the questions are pertaining to things based on a person's cultural intelligence and social awareness. Okay. So, what I mean by that is you can talk to a person and they could be listening to you, and based on your identity, they'd be able to gauge the conversation with you on an intellectual level. Okay. And on a cultural level, I want to make sure I did this right, okay, because there's two different things. There's cultural and there is a social level. Okay, so um, on a social level, it's basically observing a person, and on a cultural level, it's basically asking questions about who that person is. Basically, get more information about the person. Background, history, their observation of their culture, how they was raised, why they think the way they think, and where did they get the information from that led them to the ideal or the ideals that they have living in living in a multinational cultural environment. Okay. So those things can put a strain on a person if they have social, okay, disabilities. And the social disabilities could be based on a person not wanting to talk to you because they're afraid that if someone of their ethnic background see them talking to you, they may be viewed as a sellout or someone who is consistently conspiring with the other culture. Okay, so those are issues. Those are serious issues. Okay, so now um, the next thing I've noticed between the cultures, all right, and I'm talking about um, Native Americans, African Americans, European Americans, Filipino Americans, Chinese Americans, and it doesn't matter how long they've been here. As soon as they move here and become a citizen, whether it's uh, a resident, uh, citizen, or occupant of this country, we know that these individuals have limited understanding other than what they have read in propaganda material, like looking at the news, trusting the news statistics, and not going out and finding out for themselves why things are the way they are. A lot of people or persons from other countries are not going to go to this extreme, all right, to find out who they're dealing with. The first thing they have identified is that they do not want to live in any adverse communities that will put them in harm's way. Okay. Now, from an extended view, okay, or visual um, uh, um, distance, whether it's heard, okay, or listened to, or is it seen? Because a lot of times a person can hear something and they base their opinion on what they see, all right? And we're not talking about a large percentage. We're talking about anything that contradicts what they have been told. They usually go with that belief. Okay. Now, there are people, different cultures, they gauge, all right, at what point would they justify their opinion, all right? Now, like, you understand, these are not scientists. These are not scientists. These are normal um, persons, okay, or human beings that are, the word I'm looking for, are, they go out and they look for things and they base the environment based on the dangers. Okay, immediate dangers or assumed dangers. There may not be any dangers at all. Okay, if you're equipped with the proper um, things, there may be threats, but they won't be dangers. Okay, to your personal being. All right, and it depends on, like, if you have, like, in the military. When I was in the military, you didn't wear the helmet, we wore the flak jacket, we have all these different types of weapons on us, we had grenade, we had all these different things that if something became so transforming, all right, to our mind state, and we was in a position where we could not verbally reflect whatever these persons was trying to impose upon us, right? Whether it was small arms fire or the presence of a patrol or whatever, a crowd, whatever, then we would start utilizing a more aggressive presence, okay? And people do that, all right? And now it doesn't matter where you go in the world, okay? People do that around the world, okay? Um, the benefits of this is that most law enforcement officers, okay, they are trained to deal with a certain type of citizen of that culture. And I'm talking about the culture could be another country or whatever, but I'm saying of a culture. And a culture has nothing to do with the complexion of your skin. It's about who you, as a group, identify yourselves as. Okay, because you can be in China and the government can say, okay, people of this social group, and they all Chinese to us, but yet they may be a problem. Okay, Korea is the same way. South America is the same way. The different countries in South America, United States is the same way, but it's more narrowed because each state is not a country. So each state regulates itself, but the regions in which the law affects everyone is the same on a federal level. Okay. So that the laws may be different, but they have a unified effect on its citizens of that state, okay, or community, okay, whatever the situation is. Some things may be harsh, more harsh than others, just to show the ones that being very uh, uh, resistant to change. So they had to up their um, their resources or their tactics to make them get the respect they need because they know they will be outnumbered and outpowered, okay, if these persons arm themselves. So they try to cause an impact, okay, a strong impact on a small group. So anyone that's watching, it would impact their psychological state. So the larger group will not, try that, okay, whatever was tried, they won't try to get involved in anything. They'll stand back, okay. Um, so going ahead, talking to a person on a social level, okay, not a cultural level, right? On a social level, puts the person at a position or in a position where it's that these individuals really think that um, they have a clue. All right. They have an ideal. All right. But an ideal doesn't leave clues. All right. Because an ideal is just an assumption, it's just a random thought. Okay. So if you have a random thought, it can be wrong. Okay. And you may have an ideal that it may be true, and it can be based on a low level observation. Okay. So if you're talking to someone, all right, no matter who they are, they could be a male, they could be a female, they could be a grown woman, they can be um, a young man, a child, uh, 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 a young child between the ages of 6 and 10, or a child from the age of 11 to 15, or a child from the age of 16 to 20. Okay, each of those groups has an influence um, leader. All right, each of those groups has something that's impacting their behavior up to that point. All right. So if you are talking to someone and you don't know who they are, or let's say that you have been observing them over a small period of time, because usually, just like the previous scenario I gave you with law enforcement officers, they look at things at a smaller level and then they gauge it based on how they approach the situation and how many people come around and try to rebel, that their act of or their recourse of how they dealing with the situation, how people gather around and see, they don't want any riots. Okay, they don't want, law enforcement orders do not want any civil disturbances, where a group of people come around and then they start throwing rocks. See, they try to eliminate that right away. Okay, they deal with the situation, because they have to have a strong presence. So I understand why, law enforcement pilots, officers, strategies of that. Now, on a personal level, some of them may just be angry. Okay, some of them just may not trust that social group. Okay, or that culture based on what they were told or their small view of what's going on. They can be based on the community that they live. Okay, now all those rational decisions or opinions, maybe. Okay, but it all depends who that person is and how much exposure that person has with different communities. If you're afraid to go, different communities, no matter where it is, of course, your strategies as far as defending yourself or your defense mechanisms is going to be higher than those the ones who live in that community and been living there for like, you know, 10, 20 years. Okay. So, and the men and the women are going to act different. Okay. So, if the men and women act different, how does that whole um, presence, okay, affect the other person, whether it's a woman or a man? Okay. Of course, it depends on who's the strongest person. In our culture, in African American culture, and I can break it down to European culture, other cultures, everything like that, but I don't want to get too deep into that. But I don't want to make it look I'm, bashing African American people as well, because we have our problems, right? And European Americans have their problems, Chinese Americans have their problems, Italians, Jewish people, all this have their problems. Everybody has their problems, okay? Now, the thing is that in this country, you know, the problem is the fact that there are laws to give a certain group of people, okay, not more power, but more say so of a matter than the other, okay. And we're gonna narrow that down, okay, like men and women, all right. And I'm not going on a scale of power, okay, because depends on whether that woman or man is in a power structure. It don't matter who the person's under them, they have more control over them. Okay, it ain't because of anything other than their authority. Okay, and the same as a man. Okay, now the thing about men on any level and based on the natural position men is supposed to have on earth, it impacts people's behavior. Okay, there has to be order. Number one, all right. There has to be order. So it is the man's responsibility not only to protect his home, protect his village, his community, his city, his state, and his country. Right? That's a man's responsibility. Now, I got to be very careful with this statement, but I'm going to put it in a way where that is some people's not going to agree with it. But a woman's responsibility on this level is to ensure that whatever is around them when the authority is not around stays intact until that authority come back. It can be a man or a woman, no matter. So that's why I'm putting in these delicate phrases and state in small sentences. So when that authority figure come back, they don't want to see much modifications to the commands that they left her with. You understand? Okay. Or him. All right. So um, I, you know, talk to it, and I'm still learning. Okay, I'm still learning. I'm still learning about women's behavior because when I was young, I didn't have to deal with women like that. Okay, when I was in the military, okay, I went from um being like a regular bad kid. Well, I was never really bad kid, but mischievous child to a reckless child. Okay, to um, I wouldn't say that I was bad, but I kept myself in a situation where I was really respected. Okay, now I'm not saying now a person respects you and not be afraid of you. A person can respect you and still beat your tail. All right, but your identity calls them to respect you to a point where it's that they know that you're not going to disrespect them and you're not going to tolerate any type of pressure that will push them to think that you are the weaker figure. All right. That is where the problems comes in. All right. Because everybody want to be a captain. Everybody want to be a general. Everybody want to be a state representative, someone's of authority. Okay. But as I started growing up and I became more of an adult on paper, and I started socializing with different cultural um, communities and different persuasions of people. And I mean, by persuasions, a persuasion could be one culture, right? It could be one ethnic group, if you want to call it. And but I'm talking about persuasions is it can be a multicultural group and they have bound together, right, for certain behaviors. All right. That's what I'm talking about. And that's basically how the military is. And our government's supposed to work. So if that is the situation, okay, and I'm growing up and I'm discussing something with someone, I've learned the most valuable thing a person, young adult, can do. I don't care, a young lady, young man between the ages of 10 and 18 is to learn how to listen. Okay. A lot of young adults they hear you, but they don't like listening. Okay. Because there's a difference between hearing someone and listening. And everyone has their own definition of that and stuff like that. But my version of hearing, I can be hearing what you're saying, but not trying to define the whole purpose of what your statements are based on. Okay. And that causes a problem. Okay. Or I could be listening to you and I would basically base what you're saying on my known facts. And there'd be a question and answer, period. Okay. Because I'm listening to you, but I don't understand everything you're saying. All right. So now we must have a discussion, all right, based on what you're talking about. And let's say that you don't have the time to have a discussion with anyone based on cultural behaviors, ethics, and whatever based on where you live, so that because it's very large, okay, and there's a lot of controversy with that, okay, and that's what divides us, okay, in this country, in these United States of the Americas, okay, and you know we must our young adults must learn. I'm not gonna say adults. the younger persons, okay, yeah, okay, and I'm talking the ones between from the ages of 6 to 10 must be taught to listen tentatively, okay, so that when they explain something, they can results. I mean, they can research the results of their expectations. All right, through having conversations, not only with the person that actually generate that whole opinion, but the persons. Okay, I've heard parents shut children down and say, you ask too many questions because they don't have time. Okay, that is the reason why a lot of our children are impatient. That's the reason why our children don't know how to listen. This is the reason why our kids do not pay attention to things that need to be focused on to move our society forward. All right. There are a lot of people out here are being wasted. All right. Because they have no value. Now, I'm not talking about personal value. Okay. Because if you live somewhere and all you care about yourself, okay, well, let's say you create a bond with your neighbors. All right. So anyone outside of your community, you like, thumbs up on them, and and if they beyond that, it's like I'm not worried about them. Beyond that, they become a conflicted community against your community because you're not going to go and extend your behavior and your understanding of anything, beyond a certain scope of your understanding or your influence. Okay, so you have to learn to have an open mind. But it all starts at a child's rate. Okay. It doesn't start when you're grown. All right. Okay. And if you think that in order for a child to understand fully what his purpose or her purpose is at that moment and how they have to make adjustments, positive adjustments as they get older, you are seriously mistaken because a child's mind is constantly learning. It's constantly being retooled because there's a lot of individuals from a lot of different resources and things they see on television, they're hearing things on these different talk sources, and they learn in different behaviors and they think in this and think in that. Those things have to be adjusted based on your belief system. Okay, all right, based on your belief system. And your belief system must be based on things that you researched and are factual. Okay, okay. So um, the reason why I'm talking this way because in my other selection, which is, a topic, business mindset, I'm trying to get persons to learn how to think. All right. Okay. And if you don't know how to think, all right, I'm talking about coming up with ideals. Okay. Not only will help you, but help those around you. Okay. Um, this person that I was talking to, okay, I met some, you know, a young man. He's younger than me, And at my age, okay, I'm about 62 years of age. I've noticed, okay, that I really wasn't paying this, I really wasn't paying attention to this fact. But as I started getting older and more aware, and I see certain young men, okay, their behaviors change, okay, based on if they have children. I'm not talking about little bitty, I'm talking like big kids, all right, and then been married. So the way they address situations is based on the feedback they get from their kids. And they're talking to their children, and their children is being rebellion, because they can't get any of this behavior anywhere but the kids that they hang around. And if that parent is from a good community and the child's very, very rebellious, and he go to work and get that same type of vibe from the people, I don't care how old they are, he's gonna have a problem with them, okay? Or she's gonna have a problem with those individuals. And it took me a while to understand this because a young adult, okay, and I'm gonna say a young adult because I'm in my 60s. I'm talking from the age of like 23, and I really don't want to go that low, but I'm gonna say the age of 23 and 35, right? Usually, those individuals, and it depends on how old their kids are. If their kids like 8, 9, and 10, they have to really talk to their children. You understand? They really have to talk to their children because their children are around a lot of different persuasions. Okay. And they're being taught things based on their parents' tolerance of what the problem may be. Okay. Some people don't know enough about the Spanish community. Now, I'm explaining something to you. All people from South America is not the same. Okay. You got some people in South America, depends on what village or tribe or whatever you want to do, whatever they're from. They're just like hillbillies in America. In the upper echelon, you know, people of South America look down on these individuals, right? And you have different tribal South Americans that live back out in the jungles like that. They're treated like African Americans. You understand? And they're all the same color, man. But they're just from different regions. And they dress, they dress different like that tribal stuff. Some are poor, some live in slums. But they possibly have come from the same village. But one evolved faster than the other. I'm talking about over time. I ain't talking about that happen overnight. It's over time. This person that probably came for that village probably evolved to who he is through probably 5 generations. Okay. And the one that didn't evolve is because they was always laborers, education wasn't provided them the means to move forward in life, or maybe just farmers, man. They was comfortable, and what they was doing, they taught their kids um, what they needed to be farmers, okay, and get supplies and be able to communicate with other people. They, be barterers. So, and even in Japan, it's like that. Okay, there's Japanese out there, and depends on what cultural Japanese or family, as they may call it, um, parish, um, province, whatever they come from, they're not liked. Okay, Because usually in Japan, depending on where you live, a lot of different provinces, okay, in Japan, those individuals usually been there for like, and I don't want to use thousands of years, but hundreds of years, okay, hundreds of years, man, okay. Now the wars that went through there, some of the areas have been overtaken and combined with other communities to call, be one province and for that, But that took wars and within their country for that to happen. Same thing in China, same thing in Europe, okay, and in America went through the transition with the Indians, and that's the reason why they fell to the Western world because they were so busy fighting against each other. They didn't see that there was another foreign force coming in and was taking over everything. All right. They watched them, but they didn't really do anything because they didn't really look at them as a threat. But by the time they found out there was a threat, it was too late. Okay, it was too late. All right, because the first thing they had to do, they had to get you know, the Indians off the territory, then the French, then of course the Germans. But Germans really wasn't really a problem because they had a lot of money. They had a big influence in Europe and everything like that. But the rest of them, more of the indigenous Europeans that came here as slaves, they became embedded in the culture in the land that they lived. Okay, and they took on that identity, and some of them took over that identity. And it's not like they just learned that because a lot of the things the Indians taught them. Okay, so the next phase was to get the Spaniards off the land. Okay, and all that was because of gold. All right. So they got everybody together. The ones they defeated, that's okay. If you want equal rights, okay, you join our military. Of course, the military was separate, but they got them together and they led them to. But then after they took everything, they put everybody back where they wanted them to be. Okay. But they didn't give them a lot of power. You know what I'm saying? They gave them say so, but no power. Okay. And of course, things evolved to what they are right now. So those are the things you have to understand. Now, I have previously, I have previously been closely um, having a social relationship. I'm not gonna say relationship, conversation with people from Africa. Okay, in the area I live. Okay, and I was so impressed to see this and how humble they are. Okay, and it took me a while to understand this, because I was like, why is African Americans so angry? And the Africans come over here are so, like, proud. You cannot shit on them, okay? They don't care. And, you hear people saying this, that, but see, they'll talk to you, in aggression, okay? Because you understand they got their own country, man. And they know they don't have to deal with Europeans like that, man. You know what I'm saying? Or Spaniards or so. They ain't got to deal with them, man. So if they are a power in their country, and we're not talking about a weak country to this, because Africa is huge. You can't just talk to them in any way, especially ones that are Muslim. All right, you know what I'm saying? Now like I am a Muslim, okay, by right, okay, and I made that transition. I'm still making the transition to Islam, but I'm studying. And I believe in Islam, but I still need work. Okay, so I'm not one of those Muslims like Christians. I'm holier than thou and all this other because I'm not. Okay. And I'm not going to point my finger at Muslims that do the same things I do, but yet because they know Arabic and they've been it was raised in Islam all their life, I'm not even going to say anything about them. Okay. But what I am going to say is that um, if you learn their culture, okay, because they are really aware of how we think about them. You understand? They are. They are really aware of how we think about it. They look at us like, well, yeah, they think we stupid. They think this. They think that. They think we have no intelligence. So, you know, they think that we look at them in that way. Okay, really, they do. They really think we think of it that way. But it's a shame because you know I I've seen like African Americans, man, even treated Africans like they third class citizens. And these individuals are a lot smarter than African Americans, man. They're a lot smarter than a lot of European Americans, man. But they're very humble people, right, when they're in this country. They're not over here trying to cause no problems, you know. They're not like going to place and trying. They're not doing that, man. Usually they deal with their own people. Depends on what uh, village they're from, okay, or tribe. And don't take the word tribe, you know, like too narrow-mindedly, okay, because their tribes, okay, their village, as you call it, could be as big as Columbus. You understand? They may not have the population, but their villages are big as Columbus. All right. Yes. You got to understand is that Africa is 5 times larger than America. You understand? Now, as far as population, okay, the there may be more people in these areas because the United States allow other countries to dump their troublemakers into this country. You know, you know what I'm saying? And they take up residency here because they know, you can make money here, you can send it back there, and our money is worth more where they at. Okay, but AI about to change all that. Okay, they about to put everybody on an equal playing field or ground. So my thing is that you know you have to figure out what you want to do, and don't think, like I said, don't think just because you are what should I say? Because I'm not. I'm trying not to use. I'm trying to see something. Um, I'm trying not to use words that are too. I'm not gonna say demeaning. Okay, I'm not gonna say demeaning because I don't think anything is demeaning. I'm saying that if I am talking to you and I'm not from the environment that you're from, of course, you're gonna have reservations about who I am and what I represent. Okay, that's straight across the board. But the main thing is we come to some type of understanding because there are Africans out there do not like African Americans, man. They think we very arrogant, and they don't think they don't think we too smart, man. Culturally, okay. I'm not talking educational level because they from a land where there's nothing but truth. Now there have been influence and stuff like that, but the truth that we have about Africa is not the truth in their country. We try to tell them their truth. That's like them trying to tell us our truth. It don't work that way, man. Man, it's got some very intelligent people out there, man. They got master's degrees, doctor's degrees, and travel around the world with the college, man. They know, man, what's going on in Africa, man. Don't think that they in a village in the jungles and shit like that. There are, there are people like that in Africa, just like there's people like that here in America. You know, it's not on a larger scale like in Africa. It's like I say, Africa's is a lot bigger. Okay, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking like, you know, some of them countries you can get people that's in one city, right? You know what I'm saying? You can get that in a whole country. You understand? You got me? You know, could have maybe a million, 2 million people in the city, right? But and you can put them many people in Africa, but it'd be so much more in the country, or in the country now, or in village. But it'd be a lot more room for them to go beyond that, and you would probably hardly never see another person. Okay, I'm talking like it's just like that. I'm talking like, but the scale is just larger. You see, so there's some other things I want to talk about, but I just want to throw it out on the table. Um, Again, I want you to, give that some thought. Uh, don't take nothing as face value. Don't think of that, well, don't take it, the word I'm looking for, like in a bad way, a bad light, and things I'm saying. Just think about what I'm saying and look at this video, okay, this session of state of awareness, okay, this intellectual thinking. Look at that and again, and look at it again, and then research some of the things that I say. Just don't take my word. Some of you may not listen. All right, that's you're not intelligent. Okay, you just think you smart. You know, because everything that I talk about, even though I'm not a grammar or English major or anything like that, I can't talk like that. I'm not a proficient speaker. But what I can tell you based on my learning, there is more truth than what I'm saying than what you know. Okay. Okay, again, thank you very much for listening to me. This is Nicholas Shephard from the Shephard Enterprise, Business Administration, Information System Consultants. And here we are talking about the state of awareness, intellectual thinking. And thank you.